Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here to preview Vanderbilt's road trip to South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. You can catch this on the SEC network at 11 Central. Spread on this one about 14 points in Carolina's favor with an over-under of around 57.5, depending on where you're looking. That makes for a predicted final of South Carolina 36, Vanderbilt 22. Computers are close, a little bit all around this number, though. Team Rankings has South Carolina favored by 13, as does FPI. Jeff Sagarin has the Gamecocks by 17, and SP Plus has South Carolina by 18. This is a series that South Carolina has controlled. It has won 13 straight, albeit a lot of those have been close. So it's not like South Carolina is beating Vanderbilt by a ton, but Vanderbilt just cannot seem to get over the hump in this series, whether it is in Columbia or whether it is in Nashville. Our show is presented by BetOnline. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling. College basketball is here also. BetOnline remains your top spot for all live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today. Use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Vanderbilt lost to Auburn last week. South Carolina with a narrow win over Jacksonville State. Let's start this preview of the matchup. When Vanderbilt's got the ball, the Commodores averaging 24.4 points a game, although some of that is coming on defensive scores. South Carolina averaging 31.1 points. It's given up on average per game. Vanderbilt's offense just has not run the ball very well. It's 4.3 yards per running play. That's overall. In SEC games, it is worse, as the Commodores have really struggled to get off run plays and run yardage with any regularity. South Carolina giving up 4.4 there per running play. South Carolina's defense is very vulnerable to the pass, averaging 7.5 yards against it. Vandy averaging 6.2 per pass play. Now, the problem for Vanderbilt, those turnovers. Commodores are turning it over nearly 3% of the time, and Carolina forcing turnovers almost 2% of the time. South Carolina has sacked the quarterback 17 times. Vandy's given up 24. Look, Vanderbilt cannot run against anybody. What it can do, though, is it can throw the ball a little bit. It's got some pretty good receivers, and that has given South Carolina some trouble. So if I'm Vanderbilt, their play calling has been a little bit conservative lately, or most of the year. I'm throwing the heck out of the ball against South Carolina. Now, South Carolina has forced some turnovers, and that's a problem for Vanderbilt, although with Ken Seals as its quarterback, Vanderbilt has turned the ball over less, but Carolina has really had trouble with passing games. I remember the Mississippi State game was trouble. But the other side of the matchup, speaking of defensive problems, boy, let's talk about Vandy for a minute. Giving up 5.8 yards per rushing play, 6.8 per passing play, almost 34 points a game. South Carolina scoring nearly 27 a game. The Gamecocks are averaging about 6.8 yards per passing play. Now, look, when Spencer Rattler gets them off, they go for more than that. But the problem is the getting them off part. Carolina has allowed 37 sacks and 252 yards of sacks, and so those come off your passing total. Vanderbilt not a team that really gets to the passer a lot. 20 sacks for 138 yards. And this defense, and I've seen it a lot, whatever you want to do against it, you can do. If it's pass it, if it's run it. I watched that game last week. I was in the press box in Nashville, where I live, and Auburn, which is a horrible passing team, threw for about $180 against Vandy, and there would have been a lot more than that had there not been some drops. South Carolina, Spencer Rattler has had a tremendous year. I think their issue has been the supporting cast. It's been they can't run the ball. It's been the offensive line. But what it's not been for the most part is Spencer Rattler. And Xavier Legette last week, I think, caught passes for 217 yards. He has just been a force for them. That is the type of guy that is just going to give Vanderbilt fits. I think what South Carolina is going to do it's going to go to him early and often. Vanderbilt has just fallen behind in games one after another this year. South Carolina, with all its flaws, has been able to put up some yards and some points, and I don't think this defense is going to put up a lot of resistance against South Carolina and Spencer Rattler. Carolina might even be able to run the ball in this game, something that it's not been able to do for the most part. I know a couple other things. South Carolina's special teams traditionally have been outstanding under Shane Beamer. The Gamecocks rank 20th in SP Plus's special teams rankings. Vanderbilt ranks 73rd. Now, Vandy's got a tremendous punter in Matt Hayball, one of the best in the country. That accounts for a lot of Vandy's ranking. They're awful at field goals, not very good in the return game. Penalties, South Carolina 56 yards of penalties a game, Vandy 42. So discipline could be a thing here. Big penalty here or there could flip the game. I think Vanderbilt's got a shot to be in this game. But boy, the over has hit in so many of Vandy's games this year because their defense is awful. Vanderbilt's going to have to call a more aggressive game in order to be in it late. It seems like Vandy's had a habit of falling behind big and then maybe getting it in single digits for a minute in the fourth quarter. But mostly out of these games, Vanderbilt's going to have to throw the ball against the South Carolina defense. And South Carolina's just going to have to keep doing what it's done when it's had success. That's getting the ball to Xavier Legette. That is forcing a few turnovers on defense. And again, this is a team that coughs them up. South Carolina just has, again, dominated this series. It has won 13 in a row. It's at Williams-Brice. I don't know what the crowd will be like. I'm not sure it's going to matter. It is the dreaded 11 o'clock kickoff for the Gamecocks, but just having watched these two teams play all year, I just think Carolina's got a gear that Vanderbilt doesn't have. I think the computers and the odds makers are right. They've all got this in the teens. So I'm expecting South Carolina to win by about that. All right, we are previewing all SEC games this week. Best way to get those, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps our analytics. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you for watching Southeastern 14, presented by BetOnline.